Gamecraft and Daiwa return with the Magos series of reels. It is summertime, and that means big worms. So Reaction Innovations and Imakatsu returns with some big worms. And new sizes in one of the hottest baits from Japan, that is the Jackall Bounty Fish 140. This is what's new this week at the Hookup Tackle.
Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of OSP, Evergreen, Deps, Lucky Craft, Jackall, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com.
Welcome back, my friends. My name is Jeff, aka Jeffrey the King on Instagram, being filmed by my good buddy Jeffrey the King on Instagram. We are the Hookup Tackle. Today we are doing the What's New video, where we bring you guys highlights throughout the week that we've gotten in restocks and new products so you guys can stay on top of the game. What's going on, my friend Jeff? Oh, right. Well, I'm normally not in this position. I am behind the camera. Ben is somewhere in the universe, probably poolside drinking Orions with hot bikini babes surrounding him. I don't know. That guy is a mystery. But today I am filling in, and I know you guys like to drink with him on Sundays. I don't really drink because I'm not an alcoholic like Ben, but I'm repping today. It is the Orion shirt that a viewer brought in. Actually a pretty cool shirt. Unfortunately, I just don't drink the beer. So other than that, let's get right into today's exciting episode. Okay, to get started with this week, we have a very exciting sale going on. It's 15% off store-wide on, obviously, the normal exclusions will be applied, like Megabass, Daiwa, Shimano, but all the other brands that we're going to talk about in today's episode. There's going to be a great sale going on. The sale code is USA. You can use that at the checkout to get 15% off. And the Spro sale that we've had going on that was 15 to like 40% off, that's also an additional 15% on top of that sale already. So if you guys have been waiting to pick up some items from the shop this weekend, July 4th weekend, it's going to be a perfect time to get some items from the shop. But other than that, let's get right into today's episode at What's New This Week. Today we are going to start with Imakatsu. Now, most of you guys know Imakatsu as a pretty unique Japanese brand. They come out with some really dope swim baits, and we see a restock in the Replicator DSF version. It's a multi-segmented swim bait that we've had in the past before, and I'm actually a fan of this bait just because I think there's so many different ways you can rig this bait and fish it. So in the package you have the actual bait itself, then you also have an extra tail that is different than the one that's on the bait already, and then these extra hooks too, and I'll kind of explain that right now. So the Replicator DSF is a segmented swim bait that is about 9 inches long, and it weighs about 2.5 ounces, and there's quite a few different mods that you can do on this bait. Again, it comes with the lip, but right here, right above that lip, there's a little line tie here on the chin, so if you wanted to weigh it down, it is going to sink. Right now, it's a dead slow float is basically what DSF means. So it's gonna float super slow, but you can sink it down. It's got a great swimming action to it. You can twitch it, you can crank it down. And if you wanted to crank this thing down on the bottom, what's cool is you can take off these hooks on the bottom, and on the side here, you'll see like there's this slot here, and there's a slot on either side. And with the other hooks that come with it, you can actually attach this hook to the line tie up here, run it back here, and the hook will actually attach inside the bait. So basically what you can do with this bait is if you wanted to put like a little weight on the front, if you wanted to sink this down to 20 feet to crank some rocks, you could totally do that. And with those hooks being on the side, it's going to be a lot more weedless, and you can get away with actually doing that. Back here in the back, they also have these two little line ties, so if you wanted to add another like little stinger or like a little frog hook, you could totally do that in the back. And then with the other tail, so the tail that comes on the bait is this flat version here. So when the bait's standing perfectly like this, it's like that. Then the other tail is more of a flat tail, so you're gonna get a couple different actions that is gonna be a little bit different with the different tails. So that is the Replicator DSF. They come in some really dope colors. I mean, you got this dope ass all-you color here. Like that color is super sick. And then you have like this mirror carp type of color as well. So we see a restock in the Replicator DSF by Imakatsu. Okay, staying in Imakatsu, we see new colors and restocks in the Imakatsu Eye Roller 70. Now, Japan, as you guys should know by now, is super fascinated with this style of bait, where it's a very slender minnow type profile with a little feather on the back, and it also comes with a little blade here right in the middle. And this has been a very popular thing that a lot of the Japanese companies have been doing, where it's an eye motion type of bait where there's not a whole lot of action to it. But with the eye roller, it's like the name implies, it's got a lot of roll and side to side, as well as that blade clicking, clacking back and forth. So we see some new colors in this. So we see natural shad colors as well. We see some golds, we see some reds. So it's definitely a finesse style approach to fishing. So if your fish are kind of finicky or they've just been pressured a lot, throwing something like an eye motion bait will definitely get you a lot of bites, especially one that has such a unique action as the eye roller. So the eye roller 70 back in stock, and some new colors from Imakatsu. Okay, staying in Imakatsu, we see some little accessories if you guys wanted to attach these to your bags or your packs that you're using when you're shore fishing. We just have some Imakatsu Carabiners. So basically you can attach these to your pack or your waist pack, or whatever you're using out there to carry your gear, and you can attach your keys to it, pliers, tools, anything like that to your pack. We just got some now in Imakatsu. So if you guys are a big fan of Imakatsu, we have some here. And then last week or the week before, we brought you guys the Shizumi Mushi bug by Imakatsu and the 1.6 and the 3.2. This week we see the 2.6 inch size version of the bait. Now last week or whenever we brought these up, it's basically just kind of like a cover scat heavy poop type of bait, where you kind of just cast it out and you kind of just twitch it, and it's not going to have a whole lot of movement, but it just kind of looks like a craw on the bottom, kind of just fleeing away. And so it seems like a lot of guys, they like that 2.6 inch size, and so we have those now in stock. So we have the full line of the Shizumi Mushi bugs in stock now. All right, going more my direction in speed, we see a new rendition from a bait that we just had in recently, and that is the Huddle Swimmer by Imakatsu. And so we see a 4-inch version and a 4.5 inch version. Now I say a new rendition, meaning they're more made of an elastomer type of plastic. This is the 4.5 inch version. And basically, so you can stretch it and it's not gonna tear. It's gonna be a lot more durable. So if you guys are fishing for really aggressive fish, or you're fishing like an A-rig and you wanted some trailers, these would be a perfect option. Now what's cool about the 4.5 inch is, if on top you guys can see, there is a slot for if you wanted to rig this weedless with like a weighted beast hook or any of the smaller weighted hooks out there on the market, you definitely can. And basically the Huddle Swimmer is a bait that Imakatsu and Ken Huddleston of Huddleston Swim Baits came together and they collabed, and that's why the tail looks exactly like a Huddleston tail. It's got an awesome kick in the water, nice hard thump. So we see it in a 4.5 inch size. They also come in the standard awesome colors that Imakatsu is known for. We've got some clears, we got some natural shad colors as well. And it's the same exact thing in the 4-inch size. So it's gonna be a little bit smaller. Same exact bait, elastomer plastic. So those are gonna be new from Imakatsu, the elastomer style Huddleston swimmers. Okay, so it's summertime, and summertime normally means for a lot of guys fishing big worms. And so Imakatsu came out with some new worms, and it's basically they call it an eel crawler. It's got the shape of an eel. Take one out of the package for you guys. Boom, right there. So it's a 10-inch worm, and don't be intimidated by the name eel, just because it resembles more of a shape of an eel. It's basically just a big worm. So you can fish this with like a wacky rig, weighted, a Neko rig, big Texas rig. There's a lot of different ways. It's not gonna have a whole lot of movement just because it's just a simple crawler style worm, but it's gonna be a great one if you guys are looking for just a bigger profile and you just want to try something a bit different to see if you guys can get more bites and bigger bites during the summer. I'd assume that this would be a great bait to fish during the nighttime. So they come 3 to a pack. They make some dope colors. This is like a natural pinkish worm color. You have your classic, you know, green pumpkin-esque type of color, and then your shad style colors, a little more translucent. So that is the Eel Crawler from Imakatsu. And in these crawlers, they come in a high floating version as well as just a normal version. So with the high floating version, you can throw it on like a shaky head, or it's just gonna have a little different action. So if you want a Neko rig, a floating version, so basically you would put a nail weight in one of the sides, the other side's gonna be standing pretty straight up, so you're gonna get a pretty good action. If you do that with more of just a floating version, it's gonna fall over just like a normal crawler would. So there's 2 different versions of the Eel Crawler from Imakatsu. We also see a 9-inch version that's going to be a little bit thinner, a little slimmer than the 10-inch version. It's going to come 4 to a pack, but it's basically kind of the same thing. And this is just a normal sinking version, not a high float version. So 2 different size and the Imakatsu crawlers. Check them out if you guys wanted to try out a new crawler on the market. Okay, so we see a new stick style bait that has some segments in it from Imakatsu. This is the Java Shad, and basically it is a segmented stick bait that has a lot of cool action. You guys can use this in a few different ways. They come in 3 different sizes. They come in a 3.5, a 4.5, and a 5.5, and so it's got these segments in it where hopefully you guys can see, but it's kind of, there's pretty much holes that go through the segments, and so it's going to give you all kind of articulating action all around the bait. So there's 4 sections in there, and it's kind of cool that it's actually like see-through. So something different if you guys wanted to try out something like on a drop shot, it'd be great for. So the 3.5 would be great on a little drop shot. This is just the 4.5-inch size. That would be great on like a Texas rig. And then the full size 5.5 would do great as like a chatterbait trailer on a jackhammer. It's gonna give you just a different action than a lot of the other baits out there on the market. So we see a bunch of different colors in it, from, you know, your natural green pumpkin style colors to more of like a pinkish worm style color. We see like watermelon, blue flake as well, and a bunch of different other natural colors as well in that. So that is the new Java Shad by Imakatsu. Okay, staying with Imakatsu, we are taking a look at a brush hog alternative. This is called the Elite Craw, and it looks just like a brush hog, but this one's a little more unique because it is a floating style bait. 3.5 inches, and as you guys can see, it's got the crazy legs, it's got the little thumpers here as well, and this thing on a little shaky head absolutely looks killer. You can also Neko rig it as well, a little free rig too, but it stands up perfectly. It's not too much, but it's just natural enough to look in the water. So we see a few different colors. This is like a beautiful, you know, green pumpkin clear shad color. We see a pink color if you guys are on that type of bite. Just normal green pumpkin. We see blacks. So the Elite Craw from Imakatsu, it's a great little craw alternative to a brush hog. So if you guys were looking for something a little bit smaller, a little bit different, that's got that floating capabilities, this will get the job done. So check it out. So we see a big restock in the ever so popular and ever so original Issei Gill Flat Juniors. We see more of those translucent, clear, very natural colors in the bait. As you guys should know by now, we've talked about this bait a lot. We've talked about it a lot since I cast last year when some things were unfortunately done. But this is the original, and this is the ever so popular one. And a lot of guys love this bait. You can rig it so many different ways. It's got the foam insert here, so you can actually put foam up here in the head cavity, so it's gonna have a little bit higher of a float. You could drop shot, you could do a lot of different things with this bait. Either which way you rig it, the bait's gonna get bit, and a lot of the guys here love fishing this bait. So see a restock in the Issei Gill Flat Juniors. Check them out. Okay, going back on the topic of summertime and big worms, Reaction Innovations brings us the Fat Flirt 8.25 inch. Pretty much it's a crawler trick worm style worm. So we see a handful of different colors in this, and it's honestly a pretty legit worm. I actually really like this worm a lot. It's got the rib front half, it's got this kind of paddle tail hybrid thing in the back, so it's gonna give you a pretty good action. That's something a little bit different, and it's just a good size worm for this time of year. So I mean, this isn't probably a great color. It's like a black and purple violet with like purple flake. Like this would be a great nighttime killer. But everybody here at the shop, I mean, Reaction Innovations makes just some absolutely amazing soft plastics. I mean, everybody here fishes the Sweet Beaver, they have the Man Bear Pig, just some absolute classics. So everybody pretty much on the West Coast definitely is a huge fan of Reaction Innovations, so they come out with a new big worm. So we see colors like black light, we have just your standard green pumpkin as well, classic June bug color for you guys down in the South and in Florida, and then you got some more natural colors like plum is a classic color out here, as well as Magic Morning. That is like a motor oil type of color. That thing just looks absolutely dirty. You guys fish this on a shaky head Texas rig. Either way, you're gonna get some pretty solid bites on a big worm. Throwing a big worm on a shake head is actually something I enjoy doing a lot, and this is definitely a worm that I'm gonna be adding to the arsenal. So that is the Fat Flirt by Reaction Innovations. Check them out. Okay, staying in worms, we have a speed worm type of worm from Reaction Innovation. This is the Machete. It's a 7.15 inch size worm, and it's very similar to a speed worm, where it's got kind of that V tail cut type of tail, completely ribbed. Like I said, you got the tail, so you can just take this apart, and it's basically very similar to a classic speed worm, completely ribbed all the way down for the bass's pleasure. And so if you guys are looking for an alternate speed worm type of worm, we have one from Reaction Innovations. And again, they make absolutely amazing colors. This is called Tramp Stamp. This is a classic. It's kind of like a darker green pumpkin with a lighter green pumpkin on the bottom. Okeechobee Craw, super dope color. I love this color a lot that Reaction Innovation makes. And then Hema Toa as well, kind of a darker, this would be like a great nighttime alternative color right there. So the Machete 7.15 worm in stock now. And then speaking about the Sweet Beaver, we see two new colors in the Sweet Beaver 4.20. This is the green pumpkin blue color, and we see the Hitman color. Now that is a sick color. Griff, I know you'd probably flip this, right? Absolutely. I mean, that color is so sick. I mean, basically a green pumpkin with the blue flake. Absolute staple color. I'm surprised this wasn't already a color in the Sweet Beaver. I mean, awesome bait. I mean, everybody out here, I mean, I know I fish the Sweet Beaver whenever I flip. It's just a classic. It's been around for so long, and I've actually, the one tournament that I've ever won came on a Sweet Beaver. So I absolutely love these baits. So that is the green pumpkin blue, and then this is the Hitman color. It's like a raspberry red with a little bit of black. What was Ben saying about this color? It's supposed to be like black with no light.
It's super dark,
Mm-hmm.
and then as light gets on it, it gets more red.
I see. So apparently if you hold it up to the light, it's supposed to absorb that light and become a little bit lighter in color, and then if you fish it in darker places, it's supposed to stay a little bit darker. So definitely something different. Two new colors in the Sweet Beaver by Reaction Innovation, Hitman and Green Pumpkin Blue. All right, speaking of flip baits, we are going over to Evergreen, and we're taking a look at the Kicker Bug. This is a restock of a classic bait that a lot of guys here at the shop like to use for flipping as well, and that is just the Kicker Bug. It is just a 4-inch flip bait where it's got just your two long appendages here, and they got like these bulbs to give different action, ribbed underneath for the bass's pleasure. And it's just a nice small compact flip bait. You can also just Texas rig it, throw it on a jig head, or use it as a trailer on a jig. So we see you know, great colors like the shad color here. So if you guys are looking for more of a natural color, if they're on the shad, you see colors come back like your classic green pumpkin, all black for nighttime fishing and just murkier water. So the kicker bug from Evergreen is back in stock. And I know it breaks Ben's heart to not be here for this, but we see a restock, which I think it's been a while since we've had these in here, and that is the Evergreen Gizmo. And the Gizmo is basically a bug bait, which I know Ben loves his bug bait. So he brought in a pretty legit bug bait though. It looks exactly like a little wasp. All right, look at this thing. This thing looks just like a little bee or wasp. It's got these flaps here on the side, so it's gonna give you a very lifelike bug action on the water, which means it doesn't do a whole lot, but for looks wise, it looks great. It's got these kind of strands on the side to give it a little extra flair, and honestly, it looks great. Griff kind of said if you guys are fly fishing, this would be a great fly, just a little heavier than the average fly, but dope little bug bait. I know Ben probably only brought this in just to toy with me, and I'm not gonna lie, this one's actually some of the better one. There's like a little weed guard down here too, so if you wanted to fish it around some nastier stuff, you got a little weed guard down there as well. So that is the Gizmo. It comes in a bunch of different colors, but obviously I think this is the best color, which because it looks so dope. And then you got, you know, your classic all white, and then you got some more crazier colors as well that will stand out. So the Evergreen Gizmo back in stock. Okay, maybe a couple months ago, we brought in a bait from Evergreen called the X Over, and this week we just see a bunch of new colors come in from Evergreen Japan. So you got natural colors like this translucent shad color, you got gills, you got tiger smallmouth color, like more natural colors like a wagin oikawa color. We got some golds, we got some reds for those smallmouth guys and guys that are in some of that dirtier waters. So the X Over is just a shad crankbait style bait, and it is 90 millimeters, 18.5 grams, 2/3 of an ounce, and it's completely silent. So if you guys are looking for a very natural shad style bait that is completely silent, but it gets down to around 3 to 6 foot. So if you guys are looking for something that's a little bit different, that's going to be silent, that if you guys are fishing pressured fish, this will be a great add-on. So awesome, great bait, deflects great off of the bottom as well. So check out the X Over if you guys are looking for a silent shad style little crankbait. Okay, staying in Evergreen, we see a return in some colors that a lot of guys are going to love in the ever so popular SB 125 or the Shower Blows 125. We see pink and we see black bone. So here's the pink color, basically an all white color with a little bit of that pink hue to it. And so the Shower Blow 125 has just been a classic for a lot of guys out here on the West Coast. It's a great bait because it can just walk in place because it's got this much larger bulbous back into it. So it just is able to walk on itself. Super, super nice. With the cup lip up here in the front, it spits water as well. And you can really work it pretty hard and get it to react extremely hard. So this is a great bait if you guys wanted to fish around an area where the bite area is very small and you wanted to keep a bait in place, but you wanted a full-size bait as well. This is that other color, black bone. Really cool color with that flash on there, all black bottom with a little bit of orange hit. And so that is the Shower Blow 125, an absolute staple. So if you guys like any of these new colors, check them out. All right, staying on Evergreen top water, we take a look at the JT 115 as well as the JT 95. These are what some guys would consider the best silent topwater walking bait ever made. And so basically both versions completely silent, right? And this is going to be a bait that I'm actually quite interested in, just because, you know, it's topwater season. A lot of guys have been throwing nothing but topwater, and they're going to pick up like Kick Knocker, a Zara Spook, Diamante, Giant Dog X, something with rattle, something that's loud, And for a while, the fish are going to destroy that, and it's going to work, and a lot of guys are going to catch them. Eventually, the fish are going to become wary to it, and they're not going to keep, you know, eating something that's super loud. So one of the biggest things that guys will just miss out on, because like, oh, well, I keep throwing the same bait for 2 or 3 months straight, and they stop eating it. Top water's probably done. Let's go over to like a drop shot and have some real fun. What I go in though with is a silent top water bait, and it's just going to be way more natural. Those fish are still eating shad off the surface. They're still eating top water, but they caught on. They pretty much have seen a lot of the same top water. They know the sound of what it sounds like. They want something more natural. So a great walking silent top water bait is an absolute clutch bait to have in the arsenal. Right now, we only see the one color, the bone color, but it's a great color overall, so you can't go wrong with it. So the JT 115 and the 95 back in stock while supplies last. Okay, it is summertime, like I've been saying this whole thing, and we've been talking a lot about worms, but a lot of guys, summertime fishing means flukes, and we see a huge restock in pretty much all sizes and all colors of the Deps Sakamata Shad. So we see the 4-inch. You see the 5-inch, you see the 6-inch, the 7-inch, and the giant 8-inch versions for those guys that like the big flukes and the big bites. We've talked about the Sakamoto Shad probably a gazillion times. We've even had a guy that you guys might know, his name is Kenta Kimura, you know, fairly famous Japanese bass fisherman, in the shop talking about how he likes to fish the Sakamoto Shads. There's quite a few different ways you can fish it. You can sink them out and fish them like in deeper water with a couple like snaps of the rod, let them sink back down. You can fish them high in the water column and just burn them, stop them, burn them, stop them. They're just a fantastic fluke style bait where on the fall, the bait will even shimmy too. Like we've done a lot of different videos about the Sakamoto Shad. So if you guys have been waiting for all the different sizes in the regular Sakamoto Shads, they are back in stock. We didn't get the heavyweight versions, but we just have the normal versions and all the sizes and all the colors back in stock with Deps. Okay, speaking about fluke style baits, we see a new introduction, and this is the Japan only Bounty Fish by Jackall in the 140 size. So this is the 140 size. The size that we had before is the 158 size. Not much of a size difference when you look at it in the package and in person, but if you wanted a bit smaller of a size, it's a Japan only size. So we see all the colors in it, like the whites and the chartreuses and, you know, the dark green pumpkins, the white and the pink. And basically, if you guys don't know what the Bounty Fish is, the Bounty Fish is just a fluke style bait that has a segment near the tail section. It's got this net material back here, and it's basically allows this tail section to pretty much make it walk side to side, and it just has this articulating motion. It's basically what a lot of guys are using it as, kind of like a frog alternative. So they're skipping it under trees, around tules, grass, and they're basically just walking it out, and a lot of the fish have just been crushing this bait. Not extremely durable, but it gets you a lot of bites from what I've heard from guys. And it's been a pretty popular bait over here in the States as well as in Japan. So the Bounty Fish in the 140 size, new in this week at the Hookup Tackle. Okay, the next bait that we're gonna be looking at is something that a very famous Japanese tournament fisherman was throwing in some of his very successful smallmouth tournaments, and that guy is named Takumi Ito. It might ring a bell to some of you guys, but Takumi Ito's winning bait is in stock now at the Hookup. It's the Ecogear Aqua. This is called the Swim Shrimp. It's a 4-inch shrimp style drop shot bait that is just absolutely soaked in this Ecogear Aqua scent. And so each package, each color, it all comes with this scent, and so it's gonna be super smelly, super slimy, and this is what Takumi Ito pretty much credited his St. Lawrence win on. And they only make these apparently once a year, so they're actually extremely hard to get. And so we see all the colors basically come in. You got your naturals, whites, you got your like green pumpkin, watermelon colors, you got some reds, whites, pinks, shrimpy type colors as well. So this is something that a lot of guys were dying to get their hands on, and we see a very limited stock right now. So if you guys wanted to try out what Takumi was catching all those giant smallmouth on, we have them now in stock while supplies last. Okay, jumping over to one of my favorite brands, we are taking a look at Gancraft, and we see a restock in the Bakiri Shad. You see the 4.8, the 5.8, as well as the 6.8 inch version, and it's basically just a soft plastic swim bait, and you can rig it with a beast hook on, you know, any of the sizes. And so this is a semi-popular one. It's got a, okay, so it's just your classic style swim bait. You got a slot up here on the top, you got a slot down here on the bottoms. It's got this little tail back here, and so it's not going to give you a whole lot of, you know, hard thumping action. It's going to be a little more on the subtle side, but it's a super solid plastic, and a lot of guys like fishing the Bariki Shad. It's one of those underrated baits that we have in the shop, but the guys that know, they know, and they catch a lot of fish on it. So something alternative to, you know, like a K-Tech, where the K-Tech's going to have this super big swinging action, while this is going to be more of a subtle swim. So the Bariki Shad and all the sizes and all the colors return from Gancraft. Okay, finally something that I am intellectually sound with, and that is big swim baits. We see a restock in the Gancraft 230 Magnums, and I think in the best color, it's like this translucent AU color. We see the floating version as well as the sinking version. I know Ben said that we are going to be getting more trickles in of the jointed claws, so we're gonna see more 230s, 178s, 148s, and so on and so forth. So the two sizes that I have fished personally are the 230 and the 178 size. The 230 size is a perfect big bait size. It's 9 inches long. It weighs probably like 5 ounces or so, 5.25 ounces, and it's a pretty large bait, but it's a great bait during the summertime because you can work this thing fairly fast, kind of like a jerk bait where you can get it to slash and glide and dart aggressively, and then you can pause it and it kind of shoots out. And so I'm a huge fan of the Gancraft swim baits. I mean, I think they absolutely get bit, and still they are super underrated. They've been around for so long now, but a lot of guys still sleep on the bait. This is a great color, super translucent, so this would be a perfect clear water staple. And what's so cool is, for me, I always buy the floating versions. I never buy the sinking versions, just because the way that I fish my glide baits is normally in that top 7 feet range in the water column. And with the way that this bait is designed, is it designs to be swam nose down. It's not a very uptight fluid motion. It's more of like the side to side darting action. So on a long cast, you can actually get this bait to go down to that 6 or 7 foot range if you keep the cadence and work it and keep it down. So for me, I like the floating version because it just gets down to the right depth for me. And then when I pause it, it's gonna float up, and then I can keep working it. If I didn't want it to float, I could just make it a suspend and get some Zappu board weights and make it more of a suspend. So when I glide it and I pause it, instead of it slowly floating back up, it's gonna suspend or be super slow float instead of it just sinking out. So I always buy floating glide baits nowadays, just because the ability to tune them to get them to sink is a lot easier than tuning a sinking bait to be more of a slow float or a floating bait. So just my 2 cents on it, but both are going to be a great option if you guys wanted to try out the Gancraft 230. They are back in limited supplies. Okay, switching gears from Gancraft swim baits, we are going to be looking at what you're going to need to throw those Gancraft swim baits, and we see a restock and one of Griff's favorite reels, and that is the Mago. And so basically the Mago is a Gancraft Daiwa collab, where pretty much Gancraft took the body of like a Tatula 200 and they basically super tuned it and made it super dope. So I mean, it's sexy looking. It doesn't have the spider on it, which is nice, and it's got a custom carbon fiber handle on there as well, and it's just a super solid reel. I mean, the internals are completely different, so the reel's going to be a lot smoother, it's going to be a lot stronger. So these reels are made to fish the Gancraft swim bait. So you have 2 different sizes. You have the 001, which is this one here, and then you have the 003, which is the full 200 size. So the 001 is more of like the 150 Tatula, and then this is going to be the 200 version and the 003. So if you guys are looking for exclusive JDM reels, they're actually not that expensive. Griff, I know you have a couple of these. You gotta love these reels, right? I mean, I've seen yours. Yours is beat to hell, and it still casts a mile.
Yeah.
Like, these reels are super good.
I turned them into DC.
Yeah, basically, with the grindiness. So, I mean, Griff's absolutely beat his shit, and it still works for him. So, these are some awesome, awesome reels. They never really last long. So, if you guys wanted a dope-ass kind of collab reel that's in a fairly good price point, check out the Magos by Gangcraft and Daiwa. Okay, going over to Sunline real quick, we see a restock in the Sunline X Plasma Issei braid. It's another braided line from Sunline. Sunline has about 30 different options when it comes down to line. And we see the Plasma. So if you guys are big fans of the Sunline X Plasma, we have a restock in that. Something that I actually kind of care about, and this is Sunline Tunageat. How do you say that? Tunageat? Tunageat? Tunageat. And it's basically a shock leader, and they come in a bunch of different sizes. So from 30 pound all the way up to like 80 pound. This 80 pound is what I would use for bluefin tuna, which I really want to kind of go do right now instead of being here, but it is what it is. So we have shock leader if you guys are looking for shock leader for if you guys are doing like a braid to leader for swim baits or anything bigger than that you would need 30 pound. We have that now in stock, so check it out. All right, speaking of Daiwa and Tatulas, we see a big restock in 200 and 300 Tatulas. Now, I personally love the Tatula 300. I've been fishing the one that I have now for a while now, and I think they're really solid reels, especially at the price. Both the 200 and the 300 size are gonna pretty much be great reels for those guys that are kind of just getting into swim bait fishing, but they don't wanna drop $300, $400, $500 plus dollars on a specific swim bait reel. So the Tatulas by Daiwa are a great option, and so we see the 200 size and the 300 size back in stock. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some soft goods from Daiwa. We have some storage boxes. These are like your jerkbait boxes or like your little skinnier topwater baits. So we see two different versions. In the stick bait, we see a long version and a short version. So this is going to be for, you know, your jerk baits, pencil baits, stuff like that. So we see two different sizes in that. And then you have a crankbait one that's considered crankbait wide, so you guys can fit your crankbaits in here, like OSB Blitzes would be perfect in here. So those are new in this week from Daiwa in the soft goods. Okay, so we see a new lure binder, and it's made of this kind of soft plastic material, but it's basically a binder. You have these already included binders, so you can put soft plastics in here. The outside is clear, so you have these. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those individual binders, and you also have these little zippers here as well if you wanted to add like hooks or anything else there. So if you guys are looking for a Daiwa related lure binder, we have this awesome gray and blue one, I guess, in stock. Okay, and we see another tackle bag coming in from Daiwa. This is a much smaller version from some of the ones that we've had in the past before. This one's kind of cool though, because on top of the bag, there's actually sunglass holders. So if you are fishing, you know, in the early morning and you don't want to wear your glasses just yet, you have a spot right there on top. And then you have a nice big open space. So the boxes come with the bag as well. It's got that pouch up here in the front as well. So if you guys wanted to put any, you know, hooks or plastics there, you can do that. It could probably fit maybe 4 of these boxes in here. 4 of these boxes in there or so. And you have a front pouch up here as well that zips open, and you can put like your, you know, keys or any other things that can be very convenient, so you don't have to open the very main compartment. You got you know, holder on the sides as well. So yeah, it's another dope soft good bag from Daiwa. All right, and to end it off, we are looking at some restocks and rods. We have the Daiwa AGS rods come back in stock, both in bait casting models and spinning models. This one in my hands, this is called the One. This is a 7.6 medium light, so Ecogear screw heads would be great on this, hair jig, stuff like that. So it's gonna be a great rod for that. We see that return. Then, and the bait casting model, which model do I have here? This is the 711 Extra Heavy. This is a flipping rod that we did kind of a video talking about flipping rods. It's a 711, but when you're actually out there flipping it, it doesn't feel that long. It's still extremely light for a 711, and it's got a lot of good power. So if you guys are looking for a very high-end flipping stick, those return. Then as well in the bait casting model, we see the 6.9 medium heavy return. It's basically a versatile all-around use rod that you can pretty much throw a lot of different things on and get away with. So those models are back in Daiwa Stige AGS. And then the last thing that we see is the ever so popular ND180 rod from Evergreen in the Combat Stick series. This is one of Griff's favorite rod, if not his favorite rod. You throw pretty much every goddamn thing on the earth with this thing. I've literally seen him throw everything on this rod, from gongs to full-size 10-inch spoons. Dude, buzz baits, like, he throws everything on this rod. What is it about this rod that just makes it that good?
I think it's just very comfortable, and the action is just...
It's right.
Yeah, it's right for a lot of things.
Now, it's made to be a wake bait rod, but like you said, the action's pretty much perfect. I mean, it's parabolic pretty much all the way through the middle of the rod, so it loads pretty much all the baits that you would want loaded on this rod. And for the price, you honestly can't beat it at $199. So if you guys are looking for a good swim bait rod, this is definitely one to go with for this season. So that is the, well, I guess not the ND180 rod, it's the wake bait rod by Evergreen Japan. All right, that's gonna do it for this week. Kind of a long one, but it is what it is. Hopefully next time Ben will be here so I don't have to do this, because my God, you have to leave it to the professionals like Ben to do stuff like this, where he sits down and drinks beer. Only a professional can do that. Other than that, I will leave links to the products down in the description below if you guys wanted to check them out any further. Everybody here at the Hookup Tackle, thanks you guys for watching, except for Andrew shaking his head. He actually hates everybody and everything because he cannot catch a giant brown trout to save his life. But thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, guys, thank you and peace out.